Hello, everyone. You're listening to Game Rivals, a podcast where a Nintendo fan and a PlayStation fan talk about the latest games and happenings in the gaming community and industry. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, and together with SeanTemplar, we bring you this bi weekly podcast about video games. Hey guys, Maximilian X here on the top of the episode with a special message from the team. We made a survey to gauge what people think of game rivals. Please fill this in as it will help us make the content that you would enjoy. The link for this is in the description for the episode, or you can find the link also on our Twitter, which is at game underscore rivals underscore. Thank you for your attention, and now back to the main episode. And welcome to a new episode of Game Rivals. I am one of your hosts, Maximilian X, and joining me, as always, is the ever so loving and caring.
Sean Templar?
I
I'm
always
always,
like I always like to catch you off guard with these things, man. I
I'm
always like to
always
catch
like
you off
waiting for what you're gonna say. Like, okay, what is he gonna say this time?
guard. So, how have you been, Sean Templar?
uh, yeah, I've been good. I've been good. It's like the final few weeks of the year. Kind of looking back at this amazing year of gaming.
Why are you saying
Sarcasm,
it like that?
because it was a gap year, and we were talking about this earlier. Like, I've been going through a list of games that came out, and I can maybe count on one hand the amazing games that came out for me.
Hmm.
And this year has been a lot of games that I didn't get to play last year. So I've been doing like this catch up, to put it that way. But
Been
yeah,
going through your backlog, eh?
yeah. So yeah, I'm just hoping next year is going to be better.
Yeah, this year has been good for Nintendo fans, man. It's been good for Switch owners.
I know,
A lot of games, a lot of good games.
I
Yeah,
know.
like not just like big games, but like a lot of indie titles have been good. Which honestly, I think. Uh, Actually, you know what? Scratch that. It's been a good year for indie games outright. Whether you're on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, but especially on PC because that's where most indie titles debut. But it's been a really good year.
I know. It's I think, and that's one of the things we might go into. It's also, I think, the year of the rise of the Epic Game Store, which
Oh boy.
also caused some nice things to happen throughout the months. And I'm not on the Epic Game Store, but I hear like a lot of people saying that you get a free game every week at the Epic Game Store.
I think it was either every week or every month.
Because now it's Wolf Among Us, for example, that you get for free.
Seriously?
Yeah, I saw that the other day.
Wait, when till when is this?
You have a couple of days left, I think.
Okay, that I know what I'm gonna do after this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that is a very cool incentive. What was not cool is the things that they've been doing to get to this point. But honestly, the past 6 months, I haven't heard anything about them trying to scalp exclusives as much. So
You
who
you know,
knows?
the funny thing is when this happens in the console space, it's normal practice. But when it
Mm,
happens in the PC space, it's all of a sudden it's a controversy and there's issues and I don't know what else. And we're like, hey man, they've been doing this for years. I mean, a couple of E3s ago, the catchphrase was exclusive because either Sony or Microsoft would say, blah 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 exclusive on Xbox, blah 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 exclusive on PlayStation, and it was just constantly a bombardment of that word during those E3 press conferences. And then before that, it was visual fidelity or something like immersive open worlds. There's always these catchphrases they use. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so as you can probably tell, not a lot of news this in this episode because we are heading into the end of the year. So a lot of game studios, game developers are slowing down. They're winding down for the end of the year. But don't worry, we got a lot of talk about. We got that dang. I've
We've
been
got a
doing
lot to
this.
talk about.
We've got a lot to talk about. Yes. So, you know what? Let's just cut to the chase and go to the big news of this week, which was, of course, the Game Awards, which was, as usually, held in the US and hosted by the Dorito Pope himself, Jeff Keighley. And yeah, I mean, that's one of his nicknames online, man. It's not me, man. It's just
Really?
that's how they call. Yeah, man.
Oh, I
Like if you just Google Dorito Pope, Jeff Keighley, and you'll see some interesting stuff. But other than that, yeah. So this is the fifth year they've been doing this since they stopped doing the Spike Video Game Awards, which is good because that one's so bad, so bad. But yeah, this year's the Game Awards was okay. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just okay. There were a lot of announcements, kinda, sorta. There were stuff that we didn't expect. For me, the biggest thing that I did not expect to happen because they haven't done this before ever is announce a console at a game award,
Yep.
which is the actual title for the next gen Xbox console, which was previously named Project Scarlet, which has the oh so inventive name of Xbox Series X.
I'm happy you said it right this time.
Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. All right. Um, as you can probably tell, I do not like this name. It, it like someone else said it, and I agree with this 100%. But it reeks of Wii U naming wise because I've seen some people. I've watched some React videos of people watching the Game Awards and that announcement coming up, and they were equally if they were like confused. I wasn't confused when I saw it. I realized that it was Project Scarlet, but they were confused as to wait, is this a new version of the Xbox One X? Is this Project Scarlet? What is this? Why is it called Series X? That's weird. And yeah, I can see holiday 2020 coming around and parents buying their kids the Xbox One S thinking that it's the new stuff,
I don't hope so.
or the Xbox One Sad thinking that it's the new stuff.
Or the one
Like the
X.
only or the One X thinking that it's the new stuff. The only thing that distinguishes it is that the form factor is a monolith.
Yeah, it looks like a tower, kind of like a real PC this time
Yeah, it
around.
looks like a PC tower. I've been calling it the time machine. If you know what the time machine is from Apple, yeah, it kind of looks like that.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when I was mentioning this before, one of the things that I would be worried about is when I buy it is that I can't put it into like a cupboard or something like that.
I
Because,
mean, you can still put it horizontally. You don't have to put it
but
vertically.
does that work? For example, does it not
Yeah.
constrain the airflow or something like that? And
No.
again, why would they go through all that effort to create something like that to have people put it down horizontally?
Well, I think I sent you a link about it, but I'll just talk about it right here. So they had this interview on
GameSpot?
Xbox's website. Oh, sorry, on GameSpot, where they were interviewing um oh my,
Phil
I
Spencer?
thank you because I was about to mess up his name.
No, you were gonna say Phil something, right?
Yes, I was gonna say Phil something else, but
Uh,
yes, Phil Spencer, where he says that he has like he has it at home, he uses it for testing, and he has it horizontally, so it's working just fine. But the
okay.
reason why it's designed that way is because unlike what you would normally see with a console, or where they would say from we want this kind of form factor, make this form factor work. They told
Hmm.
the designers make these specs work in a form factor that is usable, and that's what
Okay.
they came up with. So there's one big giant fan on the top that sucks up all the
Heat.
air,
Yeah.
all the heat around, and distributes it. But since it's big, it doesn't have to be loud.
Okay.
So even though it's a big fan, it makes equal to or even less sound than the Xbox One X does,
That's nice.
despite the fact it's more powerful than the Xbox One S. So
Yeah.
that's actually like a really cool way to design something instead of, constricting it in a form factor where they have to work around it so that it works.
I can tell you that I have the first generation PlayStation 4 Pro, and they released
Yeah.
like a redesigned version last year with the Red Dead Redemption 2 bundle. And when I play, I have my PS4 Pro on a stand. It's up vertically. When I play, I think in general, when I play something that has HDR content in it, which basically all the AAA games have these days, it's almost like a jet engine. It's like if I slap on two wings, it will instantly just lift off and fly away because it makes so much noise. And I've tried cleaning the fan, but that doesn't resolve the issue. It's just so freaking loud that it sometimes just distracts me when I'm playing Call of Duty and I'm in a loading screen or whatever, or I'm playing Death Stranding, which I will get to later. It just, yeah, it just creates so much noise that it kind of takes me out of the experience. And
Yeah.
I've thought about buying a new PS4 Pro because I just can't stand the noise. But then again, I thought like I have to hold out for a year and then the new PlayStation comes out. I mean, it's kind of insane to spend money right now on a
Mm,
luxury problem like that.
yeah, no kidding. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, I guess the best thing to do is to wait for the PlayStation 5 to come out anyway, so.
I'm really curious to see how that's gonna look because the dev kits that look really strange. So I don't hope it's gonna look like that.
Well, with the exception of the PlayStation 2, none of the dev kits from PlayStation have ever looked like the console that it ended up being, so.
I hope it's kind of the same as what we have now.
Yeah, and they actually showed off a game that's, according to them, early in development by Ninja Theory, which is a sequel to Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice called Senua Saga Hellblade 2,
And
which
apparently it's in engine.
it was, well, there's in engine is a loaded sentence because you can say that a footage is in engine doesn't necessarily mean it's not pre-rendered.
Hmm.
And I mean, it only means that it was rendered in engine and then they rendered it as a video, so it looks pretty, but that doesn't mean that that's how the final design is going to be like. But then again, if you look at the first Hellblade, that game looks friggin' amazing, and that came out this generation.
Yeah.
So I'm still skeptic about how it looks on Xbox Series. Oh my goodness! All right.
Just say the new Xbox.
The new Xbox. Thank you. Let's just keep it to that because I'm just gonna cringe all the time. And it looks really good, but I'm still really skeptical. Here's the thing: seeing it in a presentation is cool. I want to see it on my own TV screen, or I don't have a 4K TV screen, or on someone else's 4K TV screen,
You can see it on
because
my OLED 4K HDR screen. I can tell you it like the games in this generation in 4K HDR, if done properly, look amazing.
mm,
So if the promise for next gen is real, then your eyes will probably bleed out because it's so pretty.
I mean, even from this alone, you can tell that they did like a lot of work on it. I mean, you can tell that they used ray tracing in the game, and the lighting is just really good. And even Senua herself looks,
Too good to be true.
yeah, like you know the term uncanny valley,
Yeah,
where when you go 3D to a certain point, the realism becomes unreal.
yeah.
This seems to has crossed the gap,
Hmm.
and it looks so real that it's almost convincing me that that's just a actor doing that and not a character that was pre-rendered. Now, to be fair, they did do a performance capture with the first Hellblade,
Yep.
so
But you know,
I
there
mean,
are a few
adding
parts in
that with
there that
this
set me
tech,
off. Yeah.
wait, like set you off as in you felt uncomfortable?
No, in a way like that. Well, maybe that. I mean, and I said to you when I said this to you when I saw it for the first time. It's like maybe we're not used to what next gen is going to look like, so that's why we're constantly skeptical
Yeah.
because
Mm.
hey, we've had situations in the past in which they said this is next gen, and it didn't turn
Motorstorm.
out. What?
Motorstorm.
Or Killzone 2.
Or Killzone.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean
yeesh.
that one still hurts. But you know, like, and because of those situations, you're a little bit more skeptical. And
Mm.
there were instances in this video in which Senua is either singing or she's shouting something, and her skin changes color.
She's,
There's
she's,
like
she's chanting.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
chanting and she has like suddenly tattoos on her face or something like that. And then you see like her teeth and like the flesh around her teeth. And like
Oh,
at
no.
that part, I'm like, okay, this is just weird. This looks so real that it's uncomfortable because I don't want to see that much detail. And I understand that they might have to do it to sell it to me. But
Mm.
now it's getting to the point that it just says, hey, I don't want to play this stuff because it looks too much. It's like exaggerated.
Yeah.
And because there were shots in there in which you see the ocean with the waves, that looked
Oh, that was
amazing.
beautiful.
Yeah,
The
the
mountains?
environment, the
Oh my
mountains
goodness.
looked awesome. But like the part where she starts to chant, I was like, I don't know about this,
I
man.
think honestly, I think from that game's perspective, it was meant to be unsettling.
Yeah.
Considering the theming of the previous game. Um, yeah, I don't know. I It looks really interesting. That was not the only next gen game that we got to see,
Yep.
but it was at least the one that was the most interesting because yeah, Godfall is a new game by dang it, what's the developer's name? They didn't add it. The Gearbox is publishing it, but someone else is developing it, and it's coming out for the PlayStation 5.
Funny thing about that game is I really didn't feel like that was a next gen game. When I saw it, I was like, this could run easily on a PS4 or on an Xbox One
Well,
X.
for one, I'm pretty sure that that one was a pre-rendered um, scene.
Yeah,
I don't think they mentioned that it was. I think they mentioned that it was in engine, but I think it was just a in engine cutscene, which always look a bit nicer.
yeah,
Um, my issue was with the art style, which by today's standards feel kind of generic.
yeah. It reminded me a lot about Warcraft 3, bit of Dota in there.
It reminded me a lot of League of Legends and
Yeah,
those kind of MOBA games that have the
yep,
super high fantasy kind of stuff.
yep. Or Warcraft
High
or something like
fantasy in
that.
quotes because it feels way too designed.
Yep.
Like they spent way too much time on designing. I don't know. Maybe the game's good. I mean, it's a melee looter
It's a
game.
fantasy loot,
Fan-
something like that.
Yes. So it sounds like Diablos. Just say, I mean, they can't say Diablo, obviously, but I mean, it has multiplayer for up to 4 people online. So yeah, it's Diablo.
Yay.
So yeah, I mean that was a thing. But comparing it to Senua Saga, I'm more interested in Senua Saga.
I can
This
imagine.
was this was not a if Sony felt that this was a good way to advertise that the PlayStation 5 is coming, then either they themselves don't have anything ready yet, which I'm assuming that's the case.
I think, to be honest, I think Sony has some stuff lined up, but they're probably saving it for their own event because there are rumors floating around that Sony's going to do a February event, just like with the PS4, when they just show it off and show off the specs and show some games. And I think everybody's waiting for Horizon Zero Dawn 2 to be shown, and I think that's one of those games that's going to blow people away.
Oh my goodness, I hope you didn't hear that.
Is that a war zone outside suddenly?
No, it's those damn kids pretending to be cool by setting off fireworks. Okay, now I sound like an old man, but seriously, isn't that annoying? Oh boy. I don't know how long this is gonna last. Anyway, I'm just gonna continue ahead because while what you're saying is probably true, we
it
don't know that
almost
yet.
it almost feels like you're this foreign correspondent in a war zone
Oh
reporting to
man,
us like, we're switching live to our correspondent Maximilian X, who's on the ground. Maximilian, what can you tell us about the situation there?
SeanTemplar, it is raining firecrackers up in this here. It is raining so many firecrackers, we don't know whether they're coming or going.
Oh
Back
no.
to you in the studio.
Oh
Is it
man.
done? I think it's done. Good. Fine.
Good.
Right. So here's my thing. Here's my problem with what you just said. If I'm assuming that they felt that they had to show a PlayStation 5 game because Microsoft was going to show off their new console and a new game tied to that.
But
That's
is,
the only reason I feel that this happened,
but is this
because this
like
did not need to happen.
is this a decision made by Sony or a decision made by Gearbox? Because they're the publisher. Um,
Well, yeah, they're the publisher, so that again, that's why I feel that they did not have anything ready to show now. As
yeah,
opposed to being ready to show something in February. Because the only thing that they showed us was Ghost of Tsushima, and
which
they
looked
spoiled
amazing.
it. And they spoiled it by showing it at the end of State of Play, which honestly they shouldn't have done, in my opinion. It would have
Yeah,
been nice if it was a surprise.
yeah, I can imagine that.
But Ghost of Tsushima looks way more interesting than Godfall at this point.
Yeah, yeah. I've been looking forward to that game for 2 years now since it got announced back at the Paris Game Show a couple of years ago, and I'm happy that it's finally coming out in the summer of 2020.
Hmm.
Um, as some people know, I like games set in those feudal Japan times, so I'm really interested to see what kind of direction and game it's going to be. The art style looks really nice. Graphically, it looks really cool. Um,
The only thing that I haven't been able to pin down is that the footage that they showed at last year's E3 of Ghost of Tsushima,
yeah,
it doesn't correspond to what we saw at the Game Awards. Because it felt like what they showed at E3 last year was a totally different game from what we saw at the Game Awards this year. I mean, it could just be me. It could just be me.
I don't know because they showed like a gameplay demo in which two characters were fighting at the end at E3, and this was more like
I mean,
cinematic footage into mixed with gameplay.
yeah, but this actually introduced the ghost of Ghosting Tsushima.
Yeah, but they also kind of did that in other in like the first trailer. They go a little bit in depth on what's going on. That the Mongolians invade the island of Tsushima, and that you kind of knew what the character was doing. You knew that he was supposed to be dead, but he's somehow alive, and he's going to take revenge on the Mongolians. That's some of the things they announced in the first trailer back at Paris Games Week.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, but now like the characters got like a formal introduction.
True. Yeah. True. Badass introduction, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, again, very cool that they did that. I kind of just wish it was a surprise, because this announcement, to me at least, was a surprise. Because after that, they showed us a new game coming to Switch. I'm assuming exclusively, because the series has been exclusive to Nintendo 3DS beforehand, which is Bravely Default 2.
I
Now,
haven't.
I know you don't know a lot about this game, so I'm going to break it down real quick. Bravely Default was a 3DS game, RPG, of course, Square Enix, which was a spiritual successor to another game that came out on the DS before called The Four Warriors of Light. That got a sequel. Listen to the words I'm saying. That got a sequel on the 3DS called Bravely Second.
Okay.
So why on earth is this called Bravely Default 2?
I don't know.
See where the confusion comes in?
Yeah.
And if you're in Japan, it's even more confusing because, well, not really, because they technically got three Bravely Default games. One was a enhanced version, which was based off the international release of the first game.
Okay.
Because the first game got some enhancements after the first game came out in Japan. People were complaining about the game speed and stuff like that. So they enhanced the international version, but they didn't get that. So they had got a re release with all those enhancements. It's kind of like when Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts comes out with a final mix.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe they got the idea
So
for a final mix from that.
yeah, I mean, no, I mean they were already doing final mixes in Japan before that with Kingdom Hearts. So
Ah, okay.
yeah, so they basically used this a similar style, and they called it. Oh my goodness, this one is even more stupid. But that title was called Bravely Default for the sequel because it was coming out right before Bravely Second came out.
Okay.
So yeah, Japan, man, you gotta love their naming convention. So yeah, Bravely Default 2 is set in a new environment with new characters. So I'm actually looking forward to that. The art style is gorgeous as always because like the Bravely Default series is known for its gorgeous 2D backdrops and just amazingly fun gameplay. So I'm actually really looking forward to this one. It's coming out in 2020.
It looked really pretty.
Yeah, it looks really pretty. So I hope the gameplay is still as fun. I hope that the default system comes back. It's a whole lot of fun. So I mean, I love that they set it up in a way that um, first they did Microsoft, then they did Sony, and then they did Nintendo. Like each one of them in succession announced something new. Your mileage may vary on which one you find more interesting. To me, it was the new Xbox and Senua Saga and Bravely Default 2. Less so much Ghostfall, um, Godfall. I say Ghostfall. Um, yeah, they announced a bunch of other stuff there as well. A new game coming from the studio that brought us PUBG, which had this really weird teaser where they were, I'm assuming, mocking Fortnite by having this fake trailer preceded about with a bunch of bunnies acting like stupid idiots shooting guns,
Wasn't
and
that
then it
the other game, 9 to 5?
no, that wasn't 9 to 5, was it?
I think that's 9 to 5.
Huh, I guess you're right.
Because Prologue, that's the game you're talking about, is
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
freaky, creepy forest kind of camera going through a forest, and that's basically it.
How on earth did that not make their list?
I don't know. Because
Yeah,
in Prologue,
it's
you look
not
at this.
because I'm looking at the Verge list,
Yeah,
which by the way we're using the Verge list for this segment, entitled "The 12 Biggest Announcement from Game Awards," and that's not in here. Okay, weird.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
Prologue is
Okay. Yes.
a
Yeah.
forest,
That was 9 to
rain,
5 then.
a character looking left and right, a lightning strike, and then it fades to black.
Yeah. That. Oh, now. Okay, you're right. No wonder it didn't leave an impact. Because yeesh. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, everybody has their own opinions on things, and my opinion is that PUBG is not my favorite battle royale. I mean, you guys already know what the definitive battle royale is, and I stick to my guns. It is Tetris 99.
Ugh.
Fight me. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what I nobody knows what Prologue is gonna be. Um, But if it's another shooty bang bang game from the guys that brought us Battle Royale,
I
well,
don't
we'll
think so
see.
because I know that Mr. Player Unknown himself,
Hmm.
Brandon something something, he
Yeah,
moved to Amsterdam a while ago to set up a new studio. And in that studio, they were going to work on new experimental stuff. And I think,
they are in the Netherlands.
yeah, that was a couple of months ago. That was a message. They were also hiring people. Um, the idea behind that studio is to focus on new IP or experiment with new things. And I think
I
that
see.
this is something coming
What
from
is
there.
what is the name of the studio?
I think it's still part of PUBG Corp. It's just their uh, Dutch office.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check.
Interesting. We need to. I think we need to work a little bit on that a bit more. Um.
Yeah, it's called PUBG Special Project.
All right. All right. Okay. 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 Well. I guess we'll have to look more into that
I guess so.
for next year. But moving on. Before we start to sound really weird here. They showed some other cool stuff that we already were aware of, like Final Fantasy VII remake got a new trailer, which again, Final Fantasy VII remake looks pretty. It's good. Um, it's still only one part of the game, but who cares at this point? It looks good. We learned a lot of other stuff. Actually, there was something that outside of the new trailer. Apparently, they updated the box art recently for Final Fantasy VII, and it came with the caveat as that it was a timed exclusive to PlayStation 4. So it's not a PlayStation 4 exclusive, apparently. So
I think,
yeah.
yeah, a lot of games these days, if it's not coming from a first party, it's always like timed exclusive.
hmm So yeah, I guess we'll see after it launches if it's gonna be brought to either the next gen systems or what. But yeah, apparently it's timed. Yeah, it's interesting. They showed other games trailers. Thing that I didn't expect is that a new Telltale game, The Wolf Among Us 2.
I didn't play the first Wolfing Among Us, but I hear it's one of their better games.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm gonna be downloading that stuff from the Epic Game Store when we're done with this, so I can actually get to it. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I saw the trailer and I was like, wait, no, like, it looked and sounded familiar, and I was like, no, it couldn't be Wolf Among Us. It can't be getting a sequel. And then they showed the title. I'm like, wow, okay, I did not expect that. So that's the first thing that the new Telltale is working on. Um, yeah, I mean, literally the new Telltale because another company bought the IPs and the name. So I don't think a lot of people that worked on the original at all are working on this. So uh, that's kind of unfortunate. But yeah, nice to see that that series is not dead. Um, other than that, yeah.
I mean,
Sean Templar, do you like ads?
no,
Do you like Magic the Gathering?
no.
Well, what if you cram in so much Magic the Gathering ads that it comes out of your tuchus?
Yeah, that was a strange thing. I saw that.
Yeah,
I didn't watch the Game Awards live. I just watched it the day after, and the benefit of that is if you don't like anything, you can just skip. So I skipped through a lot of stuff.
yeah. I didn't watch it live. Well, I watched it live in the sense that by the time that I woke up, it was still going on. So I just rewound to the beginning and started watching from there. And by the time it was done, I was like, "Oh my god, why are there so many ads?" So many
Yeah,
ads.
also something with Samsung QLED award presented
Yeah,
and
I did not
but
like that at
whatever. It's kind
all.
of like the Academy Awards,
Yeah, but
just
the Academy Awards doesn't have that kind of stuff, does it?
it usually has like when there's a intermezzo, they'll like, we'll be back after this, and then you come back and then thank you for tuning in for the Academy Awards, brought to you by Samsung Galaxy Note 10, and I'm like,
Really?
okay, yeah, stuff like that happens.
Hmm. I haven't watched the Oscars in a really long while live.
It's fun.
Live.
I don't watch it live. I always watch it after it's been aired.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of ads, like a lot of unnecessary ads.
But I think
At the
that,
cer-
that
at a certain point, even I was kind of done with them showing the Nintendo Switch ad. I was like, we get it. The Nintendo Switch is there. It's awesome. I love it. I own it. Why do I need to see this ad again in a different context?
because they want to sell you a Switch Lite.
I know, well, Switch or Switch Lite, but seriously, man, you're gonna turn off people by that kind of repetition.
I think they have to do it to make money. I mean, like these
I
events
know,
aren't cheap, and
I
like if you
know.
get sponsors, they want minimum of airtime and product placement and whatnot. So it's like
Yeah. I mean, that's why we saw that trailer for Birds of Prey, which fine,
yeah,
whatever. And of course, they revealed a new game from um, the Fast and Furious,
yeah, that was
and
strange. It's
that
being
was
made by Slightly Mad Studios, the guys that made Project Cars.
really.
Yeah, but I wasn't really impressed by it. I was like, oh
Hmm.
god, another Fast and the Furious tie-in or game or whatever.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and then they had the actors on stage.
Who also gave out the Game of the Year award? I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I rather something like that. You'd want someone else to hand it out,
Yeah,
like a real right or
I don't know, Reggie Fils-Aimé or
he handed out the indie award. I actually liked that one. I liked
uh,
his speech. Like his speech was a real. Did you see it?
no,
You should check it out later. It's a really
okay.
good speech. Like
Yeah, I mean, like, do
that's
someone important.
like the speech that he gave pretty much embodies what the Game Awards should be,
Hmm.
which it isn't really. Like they had tried to do it that way, but they get bogged down with ads and having to, sorry that I have to say it this way, but to pander to the sponsors
Yeah, but
and
maybe it's also because it's I don't know, maybe it's because it's American or something. Because for example, there's also the European BAFTA Awards,
mhm.
and
Yeah,
the
but the BAFTA awards are British.
yeah, but
To
like there's a huge difference because with the way they do it, it's more like a real Academy Award kind of
because
ceremony in which it's like in rapid.
because it's a real academy that's actually doing
Yeah, I
it. It's not a
know.
it's not a glorified fan event. Sorry that I'm
No,
saying that,
yeah,
Jeff
but
Keighley. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, but it feels like the Game Awards this year of all years feels more like a glorified fan event than anything.
yeah, yeah, like uh, uh,
With some cool things here and there, of course. I'm not gonna take away the fact that the Game Awards orchestra is not like one of the baddest orchestras in gaming, but we need a little bit more than that. You
yeah,
know, like
yeah.
not just us as fans, but also the developers that have been working on these games deserve a better spotlight
Yeah, but I
because some of
think
the awards they just ran through them
yeah,
without even giving them any due.
yeah, but that's also because they have probably like a fixed time slot and there's sponsored content in between, and it need
It's
to go.
3 hours.
I know.
You,
Yeah, but like
ugh,
the same goes for the esports stuff. Like I really couldn't give a rat's ass about esports. That's
yeah,
personal. And then they
yeah.
like do
Neither do
that,
I, but
and
yeah,
then they
again,
do like
personal.
a games esport award and esport coach and esport team and esport this and that and I don't know what. And honestly, I don't care. And that's taking up space. And I'm like, instead of that, just like for example with the Academy Awards, they have the Academy Awards, which are
Hmm.
actually there to celebrate and to hand out awards for an actor or an actress or a director, a screenwriter, whatever. And then before that, like a couple weeks before that, I believe it's called the Governors Awards, which is basically the Academy Awards, but then more for people behind the scenes, such as technology and
Yeah.
breakthrough and stuff like that. And those people also get Academy Awards, but they have like their separate event. And
Yeah.
instead of just putting all sorts of stuff together and just trying to make one big show out of it that might appease a bit of the audience and turn off the rest, like do it like that. Do like an esports centric, or do a multiplayer
Well,
centric event in which you commemorate esports, multiplayer games. I don't know,
exactly.
something like
Yeah.
that. Do that like maybe the day before or a couple of days before that. And then the real show should be around celebrating gaming and celebrating the developers. Because also with
Thank you.
like stuff such as the game citizen blah 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 stuff, I applaud those initiatives. I love it. I think it's good, but they shouldn't put it in a show like this. They should also put it in that
Yeah.
previous event and give a recap
There
of
should
what.
yeah, there should be a bigger spotlight on what they're doing, and just like instead of like a 30-second highlight.
Yeah,
And to be fair, there is the Dice Awards, and that's like an industry award
yeah,
ceremony. Only they don't broadcast that. This past couple of years, they've been more active in at least, you know, putting videos up online after the fact of the awards and the
yeah.
speeches that were given. But I kind of feel like either the Dice Awards needs to show more to know that people know that it exists, because unless you're like us, unless you're like a gamer and following this kind of stuff, you don't know that it's happening, which
Yeah.
means that they're getting the praise that they deserve, but it's in a bubble.
Yeah, it's going. It's like below the radar.
Yeah, and this has and the game awards has a very big platform that they keep using, but it feels like with every year it just goes more to the sponsors and to the world premieres than to celebrate gaming.
I know what you mean. Yeah, like
So yeah.
they wow, I just forgot what I was about to say.
Sorry about that.
Blah. Uh, I might have to come back on it. I don't know
All
anymore.
right, all right. I mean, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like the world premieres are
Oh,
a
I know what I want to
highlight.
say.
Go ahead.
I like the Game Awards from last year more than this year,
I think that's a general consensus from
because last
everybody.
year
Yes.
it felt more like an award ceremony than this year. Because also when people,
They also gave more awards actually on stage instead of just rattling it off
yeah, I
last
mean
year.
that I get that maybe some of the developers, and you see that sometimes when they win an award and they have to give a speech, they're not the kind of people that do that. You know, a lot of these people are kind of introverts. So you can
I
see it
guess.
when they are put on the stage and they have to accept that award, and you see that they're a little bit uncomfortable, or that they're, you know, it's a little bit of awkwardness in there. Whereas, for
I
example,
will.
yeah,
Yeah, as example.
last year, for example, God of War won the Game of the Year, and
Hmm.
also a ton of other awards. And there were like a couple of people that always went to the stage to do the speech, and they just thanked everybody, and they did the standard stuff, and that really worked. It also made it interesting instead of you also having to watch a person that really wants to shine, but he's like, yeah, but I'm not used to talking in front of big audiences or being streamed over 50 million platforms or 50 platforms or whatever. Um, this is really awkward for me. You know, that kind of also takes out a little bit of the effect of it.
Mm,
So I'd always, well, with these kind of events, like maybe not have a PR person there, but have like somebody that's used to speaking in front of big groups do the award acceptance and the speech, because that also kind of, you know, I think that when you accept an award, that's also your moment to make an impact. Even though your game made an impact, your speech can have an impact as well. It can motivate a whole lot of other people that
yeah.
might be thinking of going into game development. Sometimes what they need is a good speech which triggers them, you know, and these moments could be those triggers.
Yeah. That's true. Um Yeah, I mean, I've pretty much said my piece on the Game Award. I hope next year's are better. It deserves to be better, and I know that Jeff Keighley works hard to get all these developers and stuff together and publishers. Apparently, a bunch of a small amount of them actually dropped out at the last minute.
Really?
Like, yeah, like for Half Life, Alex was supposed to be there.
Oh
Like they were
wow.
supposed to show off Half Life Alex, that got dropped. Another publisher or developer also ended up being a no show. So apparently they have to move. They had to move a bunch of stuff around at the last minute.
No, that sucks.
I don't know how much of that is true, but that's what I've been reading on the interwebs and been
Uh,
hearing. So
okay.
yeah, that it's kind of weird and kind of awkward because Jeff Keighley, when Half Life Alex got announced, had an interview up with those guys. So it's kind of weird that if that was, I don't know if that was meant to be at the Game Awards and they ended up saying, no, thank you, we don't want it to be a part of the Game Awards. So it ended up being its own thing. But that kind of sucks because that would have been like a really big moment for that to be at the Game Awards, for example.
I didn't watch the Half Life Alex reveal. I'm not really a big fan of it, so um, bummer, I guess. But I kind of let it go past me. Sorry.
Oh, but that's fine. That's fine. Everybody's into what they're into, right?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so last 15 minutes. Let's
Yeah.
get some more action to it. Otherwise, we're gonna bash the Game Awards constantly. It's gonna
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like a Stadia. Um, which is funny because I saw a Stadia commercial here and there when I was watching
Oh
the Game
my
Awards. But we're not gonna talk
god.
about that.
So many Stadia
We're not gonna talk
commercials.
about that.
So bad. They're so
So
bad.
what I want to do is I want you to name three games that you
Mm,
played the last year, so in 2019. And it
mm-hmm,
can be games that came out prior to that. But I want you to
mm,
name three games that you played this year that you thought, like, okay, this is my contender for game of the year, or this is my game of the year. It can be like a top three or something like that. I'll do the
mm.
same.
Yeah. So for me, there's three games that I played this year that um that came out this year that had an impact on me. So the first one would be the Division Two, because even though I didn't play the first Division, um, the stories surrounding it when it came out kind of put me off as to playing it ever. So when the sequel was announced, I was like, okay, more of the same. But then you convinced me to play it with you. We did the beta. I got the game eventually because of the beta, because it was just so much fun to play. Um, I still feel, and I think you would agree with me on this one, it is a game best played with other people.
Yeah.
But if you need to partner up with people, it's not that hard. It kind of feels like Monster Hunter in that regard,
Yeah.
because in Monster Hunter you also have it's easier to party up with people in Division 2 than it is in Monster Hunter. I will attest to that.
The matchmaking
But
is
it
awesome.
but yeah, it's a fun game to play, but it's best played with people, and I enjoyed a lot of it. So that's one. Another game that I played this year, that I feel people missed out on, um, was Cadence of Hyrule. I mean, I know that I'm pretty sure a lot of people played it, but I don't feel like enough people knew of its existence, because if that was the case, it would not have gotten snubbed at the Game Awards. I'm telling you that much, because that soundtrack is legit gold. And the same goes for my third game, which is Fire Emblem Three Houses, because that one also got snubbed for music, because that game has, like, next to Cadence of Hyrule, probably one of the best soundtracks I've heard all year.
Yeah.
If this is for next episode, but little sneak peek. I honestly feel that it's probably one of the best soundtracks I've heard this past decade.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of amazing soundtracks this past decade. This decade has been good for, like, video game music. So Like for me to say that, that's a lot.
Okay.
Outside of the fact that the music was awesome, I like the gameplay. They changed just enough of the gameplay in Fire Emblem Three Houses to be different, but also not take away from the core. Even though the biggest thing that they took away from the core was the weapon triangle, they took that out, so it's more. It feels more tactical than it's ever been, but it also feels more like an RPG than it's ever been as well. So I like that. I mean, I've only finished one of the story arcs, and I still have to do the other three. And honestly, I can't wait to pick that game up again and just go through the other storylines because I heard each one of them is messed up in some way, and it's in different ways than you can possibly imagine. So yeah, those are my three games. And as the cadence of Hyrule, that I just lo- I just love hopping to the rhythm. It's literally hopping to the rhythm the game, and yeah, I mean, if you haven't played it, Cadence of Hyrule, it's one of the better exclusives on Switch, and it's an indie title.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
I want to see it once. I know you've talked about it a lot. I'm curious. You have to show it to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll maybe do something about it sooner or later.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what are your three?
Um, this year has been like a year that I was anticipating, or I was really waiting for a few games, and I was hoping to turn out to be great, which kind of disappointed. So, for example, I was really looking forward to Anthem. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
disappointed. I was
Oof.
really looking forward
Kinda.
to. Oh man, I was looking forward to Days Gone. It kind of disappointed. Uh,
Really?
yeah, I mean, I bought it a while ago for $30,
Mm-hmm.
and I've played like a couple of hours, and it's fun. It's just so how to say, it doesn't have anything special in there that motivates me to keep on playing it.
Ah, okay.
And I still want to play it, but it's more
Did you
that
get your copy back?
yeah, I got it back, but
Okay.
I haven't touched it since I got it back. So
Really? Okay. Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting.
so Battlefield 5 was a game that I put a lot of time in, but it had its ups and downs. I was kind of hoping it to be more of this, like when the Pacific came out, for example, it really needed that, but that's kind of how Battlefield should have been when it came out. So there were
Hmm.
too many ups and downs for me with Battlefield. So if I really am to nail it down to a top three, I would say number three would be Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Um,
Whoa,
I,
seriously?
yeah, because I stopped playing Call of Duty years ago because it just I didn't like the futuristic setting. I didn't like it was too fast, sliding and wall running and jumping and whatever they did. It was too fast for me. I didn't like it. And then when they said it's going to be a reboot, I played the beta. We played one of the betas together.
Hmm.
I really liked it, and since the launch, I've stuck to it. I try to play a couple of matches every night. Um, and there are a lot of moments in which I just shout and scream and yell at the TV. But there are also a lot of fun moments. Like I play hardcore most of the times because I just like
Hmm.
the one hit kill. And there are so many moments in which I kind of John Wick it out there. I just grab my pistol and I walk into a room and I just kill a couple of guys, and that just feels so good. Just like you don't expect it, and and they have bigger and better guns, and you just walk in and you just kill people with a simple pistol, and it
Hmm.
feels so empowering. You're like, yeah, that's me, man. And then when the and when the match is over, you have either play of the game or last kill, and then sometimes my kill streak would be featured as play of the game. And then I was like, hey, that's me, man. I just did that with a pistol. So that
All
feels
right.
really nice. I like the way that they have added content since the launch. They've included a battle pass, kind of like Fortnite, which I've
Hmm.
gotten. So it keeps you incentivized to keep playing. I play it with a lot of friends, so that also makes it fun. And yeah, the game has its issues. Like there are a lot of campers out there. And in the beginning, they had shotguns which felt like sniper rifles, or the claymores were too strong, and you couldn't walk into a room without getting blown up by a claymore. But yeah, that's kind of like the meta of the game, and it keeps evolving the more you play it. So I think it's going in the right direction, and I'm really curious to see how it's going to continue in the months to come. There are rumors around the battle royale mode, which is going to come out in the beginning of 2020, which I really hope because this game screams battle royale. Um,
Okay.
I think that'll be really nice.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, yeah. You're looking so strange at me. Why?
Yeah, because it's kind of weird. Why? It's 2020. Get over the whole battle royale thing.
Yeah.
Like developers,
Also, a thing
we
that
have plenty of
disappointed.
battle royale.
Firestorm came out for Battlefield, and I was hoping it would be really awesome, but it kind of disappointed as well.
See, so
Anyways,
I'm just saying, don't get your hopes up for this one.
yeah. My second game would be, and there was a really hard one because it was tied. It was a really hard one to put it on number two because I actually wanted to be number one, but I'm going to put it on
Hmm.
number two, which is Total War Three Kingdoms.
Wow. Okay.
I loved that game. I mean, I've put a lot of time in it, and after I've finished the campaign, I didn't touch it anymore because I had issues with my PC and other stuff. And I'm really thinking about going back because it just felt so good to make China grow larger.
Okay.
And China has grown larger under my command. It just felt so good. And I mean, like, I enjoyed so much of that game. You can play the campaign co op, you can play the campaign if you want, kind of like with this fragile piece in there with a buddy that you can say, hey, let's not create an alliance. Let's just do our own things, and then you can just attack each other whenever you want. Or you can say, okay, we'll fight, we'll stay allies until the emperor's seat is available, and then we'll just duke it out. There's mod support there. There's regular content updates, expansions that have come out. Um, it looks really pretty. I've had
Mm,
these instances in which I was outnumbered 2 or 3 to 1, and I still won the match or the battle. Um, it's a really good game, and I'm a general fan of the Total War games, and I'm really looking forward to the new one that's coming out next year, which is based around the Trojan War, which will
hmm.
probably be
Oh
really cool as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
they did announce that.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. But I really liked it, and it's really hard to put it on number two. And my number one game, which is a game I was super skeptical about, and I haven't finished this game, but this game has for some reason been able to make an impact on me. And people are going to say, "Well, that's really strange because you were saying something else before the game came out." My number one game would have to be Death Stranding.
What?
Yeah, I know.
That beat out Total War,
I'll tell
the
you.
game where you became the emperor.
I know, and I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm Hideo Kojima fanboy. Um, no, but like you remember what I said. Either the game is going to be
Mm,
a commercial success or it's going to be a cult classic. And I've bought the game this week, and I've put in maybe 10 or 12 hours so far. And um, it basically is a mailman trying to reconnect America. But for some reason, it does that in such a good way that you're constantly motivated to just continue to find out what's going on because the story is super vague. I mean,
mm,
um, something happens on planet Earth which is called the Death Stranding, and because of that, um, if a person dies and is not cremated or incinerated, their
mm.
bodies void out, as it is called in the game. So basically, their bodies go nuclear and they create a creator, which is super strange. Um, you play in America.
Seems legit.
Yeah, you play in America, and the US is a mess. There is no government anymore. A lot of cities are like their own thing, and your objective is to hook all these cities up to something called the chiral network to connect them all, so they can share knowledge and resources and stuff like that, and create the United Cities of America again. And I mean, like the first hour or like maybe the first 2 hours is basically a super long cutscene in which you play 5 minutes in between and then you still watch the cutscene. But because the story is so vague, it constantly pushes you to go on because you want to know why it's so vague. You want to know what's going on. You want to know why the things happened. And
Yeah.
you're kind of dropped in the middle of it. There are a lot of known characters. I mean, you have Jeff Keighley in there, which I haven't seen yet. You have Guillermo del Toro, which has the strangest name, is Dead Man. There's another main character in the game called Die Hard Man, and I'm like, okay, these are really strange Japanese names, probably, which they just translated to English or something. Uh,
Well, considering that we had stuff like Quiet in Metal Gear Solid
yeah,
5 and Metal
this,
Gear Solid Three's The End
yeah, and the sorrow and the
and the
joy and stuff.
Sorrow
Yeah, so
and the Joy and the Pain.
yeah, so like
Those names don't really surprise me anymore.
yeah,
This
so
is mild.
yeah, and like it's cool because besides you trying to connect all these people by bringing packages from A to B, um, the game looks gorgeous. It's
Mhm.
running on Decima, and it's the same engine as Horizon Zero Dawn. It looks beautiful. There are almost no load times. Everything you see you can go to or you can climb on, so it's like a beautiful world. It's a little bit too rocky, so for example there's an instance in which you get a bike, but you can't practically use the bike in the early beginning of the game because the terrain is so rocky that you can't get over it. So that's one of the
Just wait
gripes.
until you get roads.
Yeah. um and like the characters are cool. There, it's just the constant push to find out what's going on that keeps me coming back to this game. I mean, for example, No Man's Sky. I played that game for a couple of hours and I wasn't motivated to do anything more because you really have to be motivated to explore and to discover, but there's no really end goal in there. And it was super
Mm.
vague. And I like dropped that game after a couple of days. But with this game, I constantly keep coming back because I just want to know what's happening. I want to know. And then you also have, for example, these moments in which there's rain, which is called timefall, which accelerates aging and degrading. So if you get it on your skin degrades faster. So if you're in the rain too long, you can die, or your packages can degrade, meaning you get less money back for it or likes. And there's also moments in which there are BTs, kind of like these creatures or remnants of people that have passed that pop up, and you have to kind of sneak past them, and you have to hold your breath, and all sorts of other vague stuff that I won't go into now that really spices it up, kind of adds this scary horror element to it. It's just so diverse, and I did not expect this at all. I that's why it's my number one because it surprised me so much. I did not expect this. Whereas
Okay.
a Total War was maybe the obvious choice because it's Total War. I know how that goes, you know?
Yeah. All right. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that's it for news and our well, for me it wasn't really a top 3, it's just like 3 games that had an impact on me this past year. But all right, cool. That's interesting. We both had interesting games to talk about. So everybody sit tight and we'll be right back with what we've been playing.
Alrighty, welcome back, everybody, to our second segment. What have you been playing? What have you been playing, Maximilian?
Well, surprisingly a lot actually. So I'm just gonna try and get as much in there as possible without overstaying its welcome. Um, I played more Pokemon. I'm not gonna get really into that one. It's mostly post game stuff. So I've been catching a lot of Pokemon. I know that I wasn't gonna try and complete the Pokedex, but you only get the shiny charm when you complete the Pokedex. So I'm forced to complete the Pokedex. I'm still I think 50 or so Pokemon that I have to get before I can get the complete Pokedex.
Damn.
That's 50 out of 400, so you can
Jeez.
imagine how many I already caught. But it's been fun. I've been enjoying it. It's like this Zen moment because the reason why the post game in this game is so good is because of the wild area, because there you only have high level Pokemon that you can catch, and it changes in which area you are, and it also changes from day to day and from hour to hour. So, and it also depends on what kind of weather that area has. The Pokemon will change that are available in that area. The only thing that I'm now kind of in the middle of trying to get is Pokemon that are exclusive to Sword because I have Pokemon Shield, and Yeah.
You
I
have
mean, a bunch of
sword,
yeah.
right?
No, I have shield.
I thought I bought shield because you had sword.
Yeah, I kind of made a snafu because I bought shield because it came with a Grookey plushie.
Oh god. Okay.
Yeah, and like most of our friends also bought shield for some weird reason. There's only one person that I know that I 100% know that has sword, but they're not that far into the game. So I'm still waiting for them to finish that up, but that's it's no rush.
Okay.
I've been also trying to get my Pokemon to competitive levels, which is um, a lot easier now, but it's still a lot of work. Just because it's not easy, just because it's easier doesn't mean it's not a lot of work. So I'm working on that. So that's at least the Pokemon update for now. Um, Dauntless Shadow dropped this past week
Yeah, for the Switch.
for the Switch, and so you played it on PlayStation.
I did.
My experience on Switch. This is my first experience with Dauntless. I booted up the game. Booting up the game takes a long time, by the way. I logged in, created a character, and then I started playing. Tried to start the first mission, and that's where it already went wrong. Because for some reason, the game desynced with what I was seeing on screen. So whenever I tried to complete the mission, it would say complete the mission, even though I already did. And I tried it multiple times, and then I thought, you know what, let me just log out and log back in, which also takes a lot of time. So I logged back in, and then it registered that I completed that mission. So I can move on to the next missions. And then it worked for a little while. I did a few missions, I did some hunts. The hunts were fun, the gameplay mechanic is tight. It really is like a western version of Monster Hunter World. Um but different because you start out in a hub world and you're always matchmake. You can choose not to matchmake with other people, but by default the game will matchmake you with other people, which is honestly a step in the right direction because they put a whole emphasis of multiplayer,
I
and it
feel it's more
worked.
like an approachable Monster Hunter, like a Monster Hunter Light.
It does feel like a Monster Hunter Flight, and not in a bad way at all. Not in a
No,
bad
no,
way
no,
at
in a
all.
really good way.
Yeah, I mean the game's pretty, but I think the Switch version misses anti-aliasing, so there's a lot of sharp edges.
Yeah, I played the PS4
Um,
version, so it's really nice, and I also played the PC version at the time.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Dauntless is it's crossplay and cross save. So you can move your save from one system to another
I didn't know
if you
that.
log in with your account. I
I'm
haven't tried
gonna.
it out yet. I want to download it on the PlayStation 4 to see if it works, but you connect with your Epic account, so I think that's how it's working. It basically works the same way as Fortnite does. Um well, the same way as Fortnite works now, as opposed to how it used to. Um, hashtag PlayStation 4 no crossplay. It has crossplay now with PlayStation 4, but back in like last year when people were up in arms and stuff about that stuff.
Let's not head into the crossplay fires again, because
Well, it's over. They finally made their peace, and they finally realized they were on the wrong side of history.
you know what's funny?
Uh,
Now that crossplay has been enabled, I
yeah,
don't feel like it's such a big deal. Whereas
because it's not supposed
when it wasn't enabled, it was a huge deal. But
because
now,
it's not supposed to be a big deal.
yeah, but then
That's
why
why.
would the people make such a big freaking deal about it?
Because it wasn't there.
Yeah, but like, for example, Call of Duty Modern Warfare has crossplay.
Yeah.
I play with crossplay, and a friend of mine plays without crossplay. However, I feel like there's a lot less cross-playing now because you can see in the lobby who you're matchmaked against. And it feels
Hmm.
like I'm constantly matchmaked against console players, whereas in the beginning I was being matchmaked against PC players as well. So I don't know if they changed something in the matchmaking or
I'm
something.
assuming that PC players just turned off
I think
crossplay.
so as well because it was no fun for them. But like,
Yeah.
I really couldn't care less. It didn't make the experience any different for me. Besides, maybe sometimes thinking, "Oh crap! Oh, this is a PC player." Oh. But like,
Yeah.
I really couldn't care less if it's there or not. And I don't understand why people make such a big deal about it. Because Sony was this big bad guy, like, oh, they don't want crossplay. Oh no! And now they've enabled it, and nobody's talking about how Sony has crossplay now. Sometimes, and that's what I said. Microsoft is playing this big cuddly bear saying, we like crossplay. We embrace it. We want everybody to enjoy all our games on all platforms.
Well, can you blame them?
Yeah,
Ah,
because
dang it! I
they're
missed.
they're behind in the race, so that's like the only stupid argument they can play. They can only play the arguments nobody cares about. We support backward compatibility. Nobody cares about that. We
I
support
actually.
crossplay. Nobody cares about that as well. So if they were like number one in the race, they wouldn't even bring this up. They would think, oh, look at all the money we made. Oh, we're number one. Yeah. You sent me an article the other day that the Switch outsold the Xbox One.
I was about to say that we missed
Yeah,
that one for news. The Switch has outsold the Xbox One series of consoles. So the Xbox One, Xbox One S, X1, Xbox Sad, Xbox X. Good grief, this naming convention. Oh, um, yeah, it outsold all of those consoles with just the Switch and recently the Switch Lite in 3 years.
there you go.
Yeah, so that makes sense. But what those games don't have is cross save, which is a very cool aspect to
That's a
it.
cool feature. I'll give you that.
Yes, because that way you don't have doesn't matter what you own, you can play it whenever, wherever, whenever, however, which is a cool feature which I hope that more developers adopt. I don't
Hopefully
know
in the
if
next
the
gen.
hopefully so, hopefully in the next gen, who knows? With stuff like with Project X Cloud and stuff like that, who knows? But yeah, other than that, I've also been playing finally, which small miracles do happen. Um, Nintendo actually announced new games that they were adding to the Super Nintendo Online and the Nintendo and to the Nintendo Entertainment System Online features. One of them that I've been playing, like there were six in total, so bear with me. I'm gonna focus on just one. Is Star Fox 2, which previously the only way you could play Star Fox 2 legally was if you owned a Super Nintendo Mini, because it never came out on cartridge because it was 1996 and the Nintendo 64 was already a thing. So, I mean, I get why they did it. And of course, like for 1996 for the Super Nintendo, it looks impressive. But if you're gonna juxtapose it to Mario 64, one is clearly visually superior over the other. Also, Star Fox 2 is short because I've never like I owned the Super Nintendo Classic Mini, but I never played it because I wanted to finish Star Fox 1. But now it was out on the Switch, and I was like, you know what? I'll just play it. And I played it, and I finished it in I think less than 2 hours.
That's not a lot.
It is really short. Granted, I played on normal. I didn't play on hard. But yeah, it was surprisingly short. I thought it would be longer. I think the idea is to get a high score because they time you and it's not a linear game. So you have the Lilat system, which is the star system that Star Fox takes place in, and you can basically there's an assault on the system, and you have to prevent the main planet Corneria from getting completely destroyed. So you have to go to parts in the system where the main villain Andros has taken over, or fight off enemy fighters. So you have to select a part on the map, and when you start moving, they move. So you have to anticipate where they're going before they hit the planet and cause damage. And that's cool because now you have these small little dogfights that you're a part of, And the thing is, the enemies are not that hard because mostly a dogfight is four enemies and you take them down in a few shots. Um, the only real challenge are when you have to take down a planetary missile, because the planetary missiles are just going in as they're just going towards their target, and if you don't catch up with them quickly, you'll lose sight of them, and then you fail that instance. So then you have to go chasing it again so that you can get another shot at it. And the only other thing is facing off against Starwolf, which is the rival team in the Star Fox games. Those were more challenging because they play like you would play against a player two, which again, this game does not have multiplayer. It's just single player only. But for what it is, for the kind of game that it is, when it came out, the technology it's using, it is a markedly step up over the first Star Fox game, which is flat polygons and stuff. But yeah, I mean it looks good. It plays really well when you're in your spacecraft. When you transform into a mech, it kind of feels weird because then you have to turn around with the LNR shoulder buttons, which kind of feels weird. I mean, it works. It just feels weird.
Okay.
But yeah, like less than 2 hours. Played it, finished it. Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time waste.
Other games that give less of a satisfied feeling that take up a lot more time.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So that's oh sorry, almost forgot it again. um Played some Tetris 99. They introduced a new feature, which is team battle. Um it's fun. It's probably one of the only ways that I'm gonna see a Tetris Maximus, which I did because I was part of a team and my team won. Yay.
Yay.
Go Team Blue.
Woo!
And I played Shovel Knight because the last part of the game came out. So Shovel Knight was a is a was a successful Kickstarter game, which I also contributed as a Kickstarter backer, and it was really successful. Basically, they had a lot of um, uh, like they hit the initial goal, and then they had stretch goals, and they hit all those stretch goals, and the last part of the stretch goals have finally been fulfilled. So the game is now done. All the DLC has been done, and it's really good. It's really good. Like this is probably the Kickstarter that I'm the most proud of as being a backer of, because it has been quite a roller coaster for them, and I'm finally happy for them that they don't have to work on this game anymore. So they can actually finally make other stuff. Um, in the meantime, the developer Yacht Club Games has also become a publisher, so they've been publishing indie titles. Um, but yeah, the last part, King of Cards, which follows one of the villains of the game, King Knight. That dude is such a nerd. Oh my goodness. That dude is such a nerd. His main thing is that he wants to be a king, so he calls himself King Knight. He still lives with his mom,
Oh god.
and the main draw of the game is that it's mostly a card battler, but you still have platforming in it. And the platforming is good. It's different from Shovel Knight, definitely. So it has its own flavor to it. So it's a different game altogether. I mean, all the DLC literally are different games. They're just a part of that universe and a part of that story and a part of that setting, which has been a really cool ride. So the past, what has it been, 5 years, has been a really cool ride for them and for us and for people that back that game and play that game. To have it complete now um, is a treat. And I've been playing. I put a couple of hours in it. I think 2-3 hours into that, and yeah, it's fun. The card game is way more intricate than I thought it would be. So it's not like a throwaway mechanic that they just put in there. It's like an actual. You have to really think about the moves that you make. So
I was thinking about something else that I saw that you mentioned. You were a backer of a game called Shenmue 3.
yes, that's right. I actually did play. Wow, I really played a lot of
I saw
games.
you playing that on PSN. I was like, what? Is this guy
Yeah,
actually playing Shenmue 3?
yeah, but that's because I'm a backer and I backed it at that level. Um, it's Shenmue. I'm gonna be honest. I never played Shenmue before, so this
Same
is my
here.
first. This is my first entry into Shenmue, and the game, the gameplay feels. It feels like something that would have made sense 15 years ago. Like if it came out after Shenmue 2 as it was supposed to,
Yeah.
it feels like that. So the cutscenes are fine. The game is really pretty, but the cutscenes are made in such a weird way. It keeps fading in and out when they want to change positions instead of, organically having them follow the characters and change positions. So, for example, Rio and I forget the girl's name. They're walking along a path. It's a cutscene. They're talking. And then basically it fades to black, comes back, and then they're standing still and talking to each other. Still. Then it fades to black again, and then they continue walking and talking again.
Okay.
So that feels weird. Exploring the town is really cool because you can just walk up to people, talk with them, interact with them, ask them questions. You can do stuff like getting um like these little figurines out of a gotcha machine.
Yeah.
So you put like 100 yen coin in it, you turn the knob, and you get this little figurine. I got a few from Shenmue 2. I got some. That's so weird, but like you see, like these little tiny characters from the previous games. It's like this is so meta.
Okay.
and there's and there's this other mini game which I feel is rigged. It's like a plinko. It's like a plinko game, and I keep losing. It's rigged. I tell you, it's rigged. But you can't tell them that hey, this game is rigged. So that's unfortunate. But it is cool. Like the day and night transition is nice. I've only played it for like an hour, and when I say I played for an hour, it's been like 20 minutes of cutscenes.
Kind of feels like Death
So
Stranding, but shorter.
yeah, but it's more. The combat also kind of feels a little bit weird because it's like a rhythm game, but I don't get it. So I'll play more of it during the holiday time when we have off time. But yeah, I played a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, what basically what you're telling is something that I read in a lot of the reviews is that it's a game that should have come out shortly or like in the time frame when the second one came out, and
Yeah,
that the game hasn't really been updated with of or like it's not a game that's meant for this time.
yeah. It's not a game. It's a game meant for. It truly is a game meant for the fans.
Yeah,
Like the fans that wanted closure on that story arc because yeah, you're left hanging on a cliffhanger at the end of Shenmue 2, and Shenmue 3 literally picks up where Shenmue 2 left off.
yeah, that's good to know.
So if you've been following those games and you played those games with the recent remakes that came out and you want to see how it ends, it is it does that. It from what I've seen from the reviews, it does that well. Um, if you've never played any of the games, I would recommend probably picking up the remakes first and seeing if you want to put $60 down for this. Um, Also, that's two games for the price of one. Um, yeah, and for the fans that were anticipating this, this continuation of Rio's story, it's right there for you. I'll pick it up and continue it later, but for now, yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Nice.
What
Played a
have you been
lot.
playing?
I didn't
Yeah.
play as much as you played. I've been playing a little bit of Battlefield 5. So
Mm.
Wake Island came out, and a lot of people that have played Battlefield over the years know Wake Island. It's the first map that came out when Battlefield 1942 originally came out.
Oh,
And through
really?
the years, they have kind of brought the map back to other games. So in Battlefield 1943, it was there. In Battlefield 3, it was there. So they're constantly bringing it back once every often. Now it's twice as big as the original map, so you have a lot more variety and combat in there.
Hmm.
So it's not constantly focused around vehicle combat or air combat. You have these like mini battles in the larger battle that take place, which makes it
Hmm.
nice. Battlefield has been going through some updates. The time to kill has been updated. There are some changes to the gameplay mechanics. The response from the community is mixed. Some people like it, some people don't. So that's a little bit of a slippery slope. All in all, I still like Battlefield. I'm not putting in as much time as I want to because I'm kind of tied up with Call of Duty. So yeah, I've also been playing a lot more Call of Duty. Still going strong on the hardcore, just shouting, screaming, yelling, killing, slaying, whatever. It's fun. I'm putting time in the battle pass. They brought out a new mode the other day called Infected, which is basically one person is infected or kind of like a zombie, and he needs to infect everyone before the time runs out. So you just kill somebody, and then that person joins your team. And the other
Sounds like tag.
Yeah, and the other team needs to hold out as long as they can. It's a fun mode. It's on a map I hadn't played before. I also saw that they added a map to the game for the other modes, which is called Arvant or Archon Peak, which is set in this kind of Soviet or Russian village in the mountains. Um,
Mhm.
it looks cool. It's a little bit getting used to because, yeah, you don't know the layout of the map, and there's a lot of buildings in there, and a lot of windows, so you can get really paranoid quickly when you're standing still somewhere defending an objective, constantly looking around at all the windows, saying, "Okay, okay, where did it come from? Where can they come from?" So it's a bit like that. Um, and basically, I played my first match of. There's a mode in with night vision, so that the game is completely dark, and then you can put on night vision, and then you can play in the dark. It adds
Mm.
kind of like this hide and seek element to the game. It's really, really creepy, really, really exciting at the same time because you're just slowly walking around in multiplayer and suddenly somebody pops up in front of you and you don't know if it's a friendly or not. So your first gut is to shoot. And if you're playing it in hardcore, then you can also kill your teammate.
Mm.
That's a fun mode. I haven't played that one as much as I wanted to. I just got into it by accident. And so that's why I played it, but I really liked it. Um, I played a lot more Jedi Fallen Order.
Ooh,
Yeah,
how's
so
that going for you?
yeah, I'm stuck right now.
How?
Okay,
How are
so
you stuck?
there's this part in the game in which you're in a certain ice cave, and then you need to do some puzzles to get out of the ice cave, and then you need to go to Kashyyyk. And people that know Star Wars know that Kashyyyk is the Wookiee planet, the planet where
Mhm.
Chewbacca's from. So you need to go to Kashyyyk. I need to get back to my ship to go back to Kashyyyk. I just can't get back to my ship because first I was stuck in this ice cave. Now I got out of the ice cave, and then now I'm stuck outside. And I can't remember, but I think I'm playing the game on hard. So you have to be a bit more careful with the combat. You can't just run up to people
So
and
you're
try to
playing
kill them.
on Jedi Knight?
No, I'm playing on Jedi Master, I believe.
No, because it's really?
I think I
I thought.
think
Oh, right, yeah, yeah. It's Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, then Jedi Grandmaster. Right,
Yeah,
right.
so I'm playing on Jedi Master, and yeah, it's fun. It looks I'm still impressed by how great it looks. It still gives me that Uncharted in space feeling, which I like. Um, it's just that there's a lot that's coming. That in my backlog that I kind of want to play. So instead
Mm.
of finishing one thing, I just start random things. I bought Ghost Recon Breakpoint, for example, but I haven't touched it yet. I'm kind of waiting for a few more updates for it to come out. So it is where
I
Ubisoft
hope you didn't
wanted
pay
it.
top dollar for that.
No, no, no. I got it for $30.
That's still that's still too much.
I bought Wildlands for 60 and I enjoyed it as well. So
All right.
yeah, I'm waiting out for some more updates to come out so that I can play that game because I like the first one, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one. And
All right.
then I bought Death Stranding this week, which I talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I'm 10 or 12 hours in. I put full days in, 2 full days in it, and I like it. I don't know why. I'm trying to grasp why I like it. It's this sense of mystery that keeps me going. Um, some of the game is just hilarious. I mean, you can, of course, all the packages you have to deliver, you stack them on your back, and sometimes the stack on your back gets so big, it's so hilarious to see, because then you're just walking around and you see this huge mountain of packages on your back, shaking all sides with the wind and with every step you take, and then you have to balance out your movement, because that's a thing. You can't just run, you constantly have to keep your balance.
Because
um,
of course you do.
yeah, but like it's these small mechanics that make sense in the game. So, for example, you have your health gauge, which is your blood gauge. You have your stamina gauge, which is of course for running. You have your
Mm.
endurance gauge, which is for intense things. Like, for example, if you try to cross a river and you get swept up in the current, your endurance gauge goes down, and if it goes down completely, you'll be swept away in the stream.
Yeah.
Um, there's a stress gauge. So, for example, when you're running down a slope of a mountain, you can get like this adrenaline rush, which makes you go down even faster. But then when the adrenaline runs out, the stamina drops considerably, for example. You have product placement, of course, Monster Energy in there, which is your way to refill your stamina besides either sleeping, for example. Uh, you have to shower your character because sometimes you have this black gooey stuff that you can get into contact with if you come into contact with the BTs. So you have
Mhm.
to take a shower, wash that off. Apparently, there's also a way for that to create like a weapon to use against the BTs. Um, you can climb on everything. Your shoes wear out when you're after a while, so you have to craft new shoes and upgrade your shoes as well. You can build a lot of shit. It's like really expensive for a walking simulator, as people call it. There's all these mechanics in there that just make sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
It's just that the reviews are so divided, and that's why it's maybe hard for people to get into it or to think like, "Hey, I want to buy this or not." That's why I bought it for $30 because I didn't know if I wanted to spend the full 60 on it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like for example, even with combat, the combat isn't that super expansive. There are enemies in the world called mules that will try to take your packages from you, and then you can. In the beginning, you only have your fist, so you can try to knock them out. You can't kill them, and then later on, you get like this weapon that shoots out ropes that bind them so that they're incapacitated. And there was this one part that I came near their camp, and then an alarm went off, and then I see this truck coming at me, and then suddenly five people step out of the truck and they try to subdue me. I kick their asses. I take their truck, I load the truck full with goods, I run off to another camp. I'm fighting with people, and suddenly my truck's gone, and I'm looking over my shoulder, and I see that one of the guys got in my truck, is trying to get away with all my packages. And I'm like, wait. I'm trying to run after the truck to stop him. He stops, I kick his ass, I get back in my truck. I was almost afraid that I might lose all the stuff because I had a lot of stuff in that truck. So, it's like these funny things they add in between. There are cameos from other people. So, such I mentioned Jeff Keighley's in there. I
You met
didn't.
Herman Hulst's cameo already?
Yeah, so that was. I didn't know he was in the game, but I'm at the part now where I met him. He's a character that can give you materials and certain items. So that's also
Hmm.
cool. But they've only used his likeness. They haven't used his voice, so it's
Yeah.
just his appearance. That's kind of strange because you expect this completely different voice to come out of him, and then
Yeah.
you hear this American voice. You're like, "Oh, okay, last time I checked, you're Dutch, and you sound really different in real life." Same goes for Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, but
Uh,
his character, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is voiced by Alex Mercer.
I don't know.
I think they said that.
Yeah, but
Like
they have like
when they revealed Jeff's character cameo, they said that the voice actor voicing his character is Alex Mercer.
hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of cameos in there. So a lot of people question as well why those cameos are there. I honestly don't know, and I don't mind.
Like
Um,
like the cameo for Conan O'Brien. That one is actually voiced by Conan
I
O'Brien.
haven't met him yet, but I'm curious. I'm really curious to see. Yeah, so like the for example, Mads Mikkels is in there, which is some people might know him from Hannibal, for example. And
Hmm.
in the initial trailers, he he was portrayed as this kind of special forces guy with special powers. He looked really creepy. I haven't seen that yet. I see him in flashbacks where he's trying to care for a baby, to put it that way. So he's like this really caring father. So I'm really trying to figure out, like, I really want to know where that arc goes. Um, the same goes for like so paranormal stuff is normal in this world, and the world has accepted that it happens. For example, your character is what they call a repatriate. So if you die, for example, if you have to play this mini game in which your soul has to travel back to your body, and if you do that, you just come back alive. So
Hmm.
in a way, you can't die, I think. I've only
Huh?
died once, and which was part of the game. So yeah.
Wait a minute, but that still doesn't make sense because you just like if people die, they go nuclear. So how can you not die?
Yeah, so that's because you're special, to put it that way, and there are more people like you. So for example, you can also sense the BTs, whereas you have like with mutants in X-Men, you have levels of mutants, where
Hmm.
Xavier's like a level 10 or something. So you're like a level 2, so you can sense BTs, but other people, for example, can see him as well. So there's like difference, and some people, like one of the antagonists in the game, is can even manipulate the BTs. There's this one part that he just suddenly appears out of nowhere, and then he conjures up a boss fight for you, and then you suddenly have to do a boss fight. And if you lose, then they say it creates a void and then wipes out the city. Well, it's probably game over then. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Oh, little FYI. Made a little bit of a snafu. It's not Alex Mercer. It's Matthew Mercer, who's voicing Jeff Keighley's cameo.
I don't know who that is.
It's a very famous voice actor, actually,
Okay,
which makes it even weirder that I got that wrong. Alex Mercer is the character from Prototype.
I thought so. Yeah.
Oh man, too many. It's the Phil thing all over again. Dang
Yep. Yep.
it.
But yeah. Anyways, that's Death Stranding in a nutshell. The only way for people to try this out, to kind of find out what kind of game it
It's to
is by
play it.
play it.
Yeah,
And
that
you
I was kind of
know,
afraid you'd say that.
yeah, it's one of those games that it's one of those unique experiences in some of the review that comes out. It's a unique experience. You have to try it. Um, yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
leave it
but
at
to
that.
you, after playing it for 10, 12 hours, do you feel that this is a $60 game? Like a $60 experience?
If you're open to try new things, yes. But if you expect something like a Metal Gear or what something, if you like know what Kojima's done in the past and you expect something to be similar to that, maybe not. The funny thing is it feels a lot like stuff has crossed over from Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain, but that's maybe because they built up a certain experience with open world games and it was easy to kind of use that knowledge. But if
Mm.
you're open to new stuff, like I bought um, No Man's Sky for 60 and I regretted it, but I was still open to trying it out. So if you're open to new experiences, it it could be worth the $60.
Hmm. Okay, fair, fair, fair. All right. Anything else you played?
That's about it.
All right, cool. So I guess that's it for this segment of what we've been playing.
Stick
So
around.
four.
Uh, Hidden gem, right?
That's right. We'll be right back, folks. And we're back with our hidden gems. Sean Templar, what is your hidden gem?
My hidden gem is a game that might not be, or that a certain developer might not be super known about because they're generally known about another game they make.
Okay.
Um, but some people know Rockstar Games. They make games such as Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft
Hmm.
Auto. Once upon a time, they did Midnight Club,
I missed
Bully.
Midnight Club.
Yeah, me too. And they also did a game, or initially I think they published it, and later they made it themselves, called Max Payne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Max Payne is a game. The original Max Payne was made by Remedy, which
Hmm.
are the people behind Control, which was nominated for a lot of Game of the Year awards.
I won a few.
A few, yeah. And I specifically, I'll talk about the franchise because each game did something pretty cool. Max Payne is a game in which you play as a cop called Max Payne. Your family gets killed in the beginning of the game, and you kind of go out on this revenge quest trying to figure out who kills your family and why. Your approach for that is shoot first, ask questions later, which is really nice. You have this mechanic in which you have something called bullet time, so you can also slow down time, and you can dive and jump through the air, make all these cool moves, and shoot with pistols. We can yield dual pistols or dual Uzis or shotguns and assault rifles and whatnot. Um, and it's really cool the way the story unfolds because partially the story unfolds with either the character talking to himself or having these characters talk to each other. But there are also like cutscenes, which is kind of like a comic book. So when there's supposed to be a cutscene, it's basically a comic book. You see a comic book, you hear the text being spoken. You can skip through it, you can go back. Um, at least in the first two games, they really use that style, the comic book style. And in the third game, which is I think the one that Rockstar did completely by themselves, which
Yeah.
also got postponed and rebooted and whatnot, they switched to full cutscenes. The first two games are set in the United States, whereas in the third game you go to Brazil. You've left the police and you're part of some rich dudes, private security or personal security. You act as a bodyguard. You still have your own issues. You're haunted, or you're an alcoholic. So you know you numb yourself with a lot of booze and you try to get by. Um, like the game isn't that super deep to put it that way, but it's more
Hmm.
like you know, you watch an action movie. Action movies don't have a lot of depth to them. It's just like a Michael Bay movie, a lot of explosions, a lot of killing, bullets flying all around. And these games give you the chance to feel how that's like and to cause those explosions and to walk into a room. And I think it's in the second game that he had this move that you could trigger bullet time, and then he would spin around in the room with the guns, and then he would take out everybody one by one. I mean, that looked so freaking cool. That was so amazing. And then you would see his coat so in slow motion slowly turning, and then you could jump forwards or backwards and then shoot with your pistols. I mean, you have to experience it. I played the
Yeah.
first one on the PlayStation 2. I never finished it on the PlayStation 2, and then later I finished it on. It came out to iOS. I came to. I think I played it on my iPad Mini. I finished it, and
Really?
then yeah, Rockstar was pushing a lot of mobile stuff a couple of years ago. So finished it on my iPad. Um, the second one I finished on the PlayStation 2. You in the second one you unfold a little bit more. The mob gets involved. You have kind of like a love interest that gets involved. So they flesh out the character more. The game also has this sense of dark humor, which is, if you can appreciate it, really funny. Um, and in the third one, yeah, it's been a while since I played the third one. I've played it on PC. It really looked nice.
Yeah,
The
it did. I saw like the reviews and like the previews of three. It's like really good.
Yeah,
It's
and they
really
really
nice.
really created this cool world in Brazil and Rio de Janeiro. They really painted this really believable picture. Um, and that's what's cool. And in the game, there were also, of course, some puzzle mechanics in there. So it's not constantly shooting because otherwise it would get boring. But then you, for example, progress to a few shooting areas, and then you get into that you have to get in a certain room, but you can't get in the room. So the game diverts you to a different path, and you have to unlock something or flip some switches. There's some basic puzzle solving in there. In the first one, at the beginning of each chapter, because it's a sort of a comic book, it has chapters. At the end of every chapter or at the beginning of a new chapter, you would have this moment that Max is dreaming about how his wife and baby got killed, and then you
Ooh,
have to like trying to figure out what's happened, or he's trying to piece it out in his mind. And you have these strange like puzzles. I remember there was this one puzzle in which you would walk through a house, and then you would open a door and the room would be completely dark, and the only thing you would see in front of you was this really thin blood trail, and you would have to walk over it. But it turned out that you could only walk over that blood trail because the rest was like empty void, so you could fall off. So you would have to balance over that thin blood trail, and then there were moments that you had to jump across, and if you didn't make the jump, you would drop into like a dark abyss, and you would constantly hear your baby crying in the background. And then if you were to drop down, you would really start to hear that baby scream, which is really like offsetting. They're like, okay, what's going on here? I'm trying to
ew.
solve this. So they really played good with audio as well, kind of trying to freak you out in a way. I think you can pick up all the games relatively cheap. I think the second one is also available on mobile. Otherwise, you can play the first one on mobile, and the third one, yeah, you can probably best pick it up on Steam or Rockstar's own platform. If it's available. I think it's money well
Have they
spent
put more games on there?
on
So I
the
don't think they have.
Rockstar platform.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
All right. Well, we'll look into that. But
Yeah, but it's definitely one of those games that, like, if it's a rainy day and you want like you want to be part of a Michael Bay movie or just want to blow stuff up, then this is like the perfect game.
that's one way to put
Yeah, like
it.
you don't have to, like, you can just turn off your mind and just go at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And some
Max
people
Payne
like
is
that.
on Steam for $10. Max Payne 2 is on Steam for $10, and Max Payne 3 is on Steam for 20.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
$40 well spent.
exactly.
But
So
hey,
get it.
that's
Oh
basically
wait,
my.
there's also a Max Payne bundle. Hang on a second.
It's probably all games in one.
Well, that's the question. Is it all games in one or not? Stupid age gate. Here, that's my age. And then it only shows me Max Payne 2. Max Payne 3 complete. Max Payne bundle. I think Max Payne bundle is just 1 and 2. Yeah, it's just 1 and 2 for $15.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can buy the bundle for $15, which is cheaper than buying them individually, and then buying the complete edition of Max Payne 3 for $34.99. Oh, it has a bunch of DLC stuff. Or get the base game for $20. I think if you get the base game, you get all everything else is like skins and stuff, and yeah, it's mostly just skins. Just get the base game for 20.
Get the base game for 20. I think is well spent on that game.
Yeah.
But hey, that's my hidden gem. What's yours?
My hidden gem is a game that I know that will never, ever, ever, ever get ported because of the way it was made and the platform it was released on. And that is Dragon Quest IX. And the reason I'm saying this is because Dragon Quest IX, apart from Dragon Quest X Online, which is an MMO, is also a unique beast in and of itself because it is a game that is partially open world. So it starts off normally enough, but the way it works is that you can roam around in the world, you can go wherever you want as long as your access is not being blocked. You can play this game multiplayer, like people can jump in if they have a copy of Dragon Quest 9. They can jump into your game into a lobby and then they can join you on your quest.
That's
So
nice.
they can you can have a maximum of three other friends playing alongside you. And the only downside in that is that your your progress doesn't carry over, I think, was the thing. Um but the other thing that was I mean, it's still turn based, but you can see the enemies and you can avoid them on the map. The other added thing is that this is the game that pretty much solidified one of the features that would be a part of the 3DS, which is Street Pass, because this game utilized that to its completion. Nintendox experimented with it back in the day when it came out first in 2004, and this is basically the game that made Street Pass a viable addition to the 3DS. So what it does is that when you have the game on your DS, when you close it, it's still communicating. So when you pass other people, you can exchange maps where you can find treasures and fight legendary monsters to get extra, content and stuff like that. And it works in Japan, of course, because a lot of people play Dragon Quest there. But if you were in the West, the fun thing about Dragon Quest 9 was taking your DS to like a convention like Gamescom, or if you're in the US, you go to PAX or New York Comic Con or San Francisco Comic Con or whatever con you want to go to, where they also include gamers. You'll always pass by people that have maps to share, and there was such a lively community around the maps that people figured out which maps were really good, that give you either a lot of experience points or money or get you special items, that people online would be like, this is the map that you want, I have this map, if you want it I can share it with you. And they'll meet up and share maps with each other, which is crazy. The game itself still feels like a Dragon Quest game, so it's the action is still turn based, as I said before, but you can play multiplayer, which is crazy. And the story itself is, well, it's a Dragon Quest story, so it's integrated. You have like this very elaborate job system where you can interchange what job you have, level it up. The skills that you learn from that you can use with other classes, and it was just a lot of fun to play. I never finished the game because the game is just that big. um and the one time I did go to a conference, it was Gamescom in Cologne, Germany, and they had this special map that you can get, which was really cool. So they were like, Square Enix was distributing a special map. I also got this neat little stacked metal slime pin, which I still own, which I'm very proud of. Um, yeah, because it's a really nicely made pin for some, because they handed it out to anybody that completed the map. It's like, I completed the map. Oh, here's your pin. I'm like, yay!
Wow.
And yeah, it
Okay.
was really fun because I got a lot of maps that day, because in like where we live, there are not a lot of people walking around with a DS playing Dragon Quest 9 of all things. So when I got there, it's like, oh, you got a bunch of maps. Oh, you got a bunch of maps. I close it again, and oh, you got more maps. Cool. Close it up and walk around for like another 15 minutes, and oh, I got more maps. So that was a really cool aspect. And I can tell you right now, this game is never getting ported, because one, it was not developed by Square Enix internally. It was developed co-developed by level 5. Um, the director, like the director shared co-directing roles with, the director of the series, which is of course the director of pretty much every level 5 game, Akihiro Hino. Um, so I don't know if this game could ever see a re-release again, because it deserves to have a re-release, because it was before Dragon Quest X and before Dragon Quest XI came out, um, and barring Dragon Quest VIII, it was the prettiest Dragon Quest game out there, especially for a DS title. Like, there was a lot of detail in the characters, and if you've seen DS games that have 3D character models, they're not the prettiest things in the world, but they're prettier than Nintendo 64 game. But you can tell that there's all the textures are super flat and don't have the same fidelity as a Nintendo 64 game, but Dragon Quest IX looks really pretty. So yeah, I mean, for crying out loud, it got a Guinness World Record for its anonymous communication mode, for the map feature thing. So yeah,
I'm looking at the game right now, and indeed, for a DS game, it really looks nice.
see, told you.
Wow, I'm a bit surprised.
And just the fact that you could like come together with friends, and the stories that I heard back in the day about Dragon Quest IX, where Japanese players would come together in a cafe and just open up their DSs and play quests together. Made me so jealous. I mean, it's the same as when Monster Hunter was big on PlayStation Portable. That also made me jealous, but for different reasons. Um, but yeah, Dragon Quest IX was a unique beast, and the fact that it exists alone is a miracle unto itself. But yeah, we're never gonna have something like that ever again, I think. I mean, Dragon Quest XI is more. It introduces a lot more quality of life changes, but it's still a Dragon Quest game. It's still very traditional. The Dragon Quest IX, apart from Dragon Quest X, is the least mainline. It's the least traditional mainline game, because what Dragon Quest IX was actually supposed to be, it was supposed to be a completely different game. It wasn't supposed to be turn based. It was supposed to be an action RPG. But the fans got outraged, so they had to redo the game and add the turn based aspect into it. But they still kept the multiplayer aspect in it. So,
I'm surprised that this is a DS game. It sounds so expensive for a DS game.
and it was only $40, because that's how expensive DS games ever got. No, sorry, $30, because it was a DS game. 3DS games were $40.
That's kind of affordable.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you want to play it, the only place you can play it is on a DS or a 3DS. If you can find a copy that's not gouging you out, because I haven't looked at the prices, but I can't imagine that Dragon Quest IX is cheap to buy on the used market. So
I wouldn't
yeah,
know.
that's my hidden gem.
That sounds like a good one.
Yeah, and with that, we have come to the end of another episode. This one is probably our most jam packed, but I guess people can forgive us on that, because it is the end of the year, and there were a lot of things that were announced at the Game Awards and our opinions in there as well. So I'm glad we got it out, and this might be a surprise to some people, or maybe not. But this is the last episode of 2019, Sean Templar.
I know.
How do you feel about that?
Um, the year has passed so fast that I kind
Yeah.
of when we talked about it, I'm like, really? Is
Hmm.
this really the last one? So because it automatically means that the next episode will be our 1 year anniversary episode, because we've been doing this for a year, which is
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
amazing. Because
not the next episode, because the next episode will be the penultimate. So it's the episode before our 1 year anniversary. But it will be the first episode of 2020, which is really big.
Season 2 of Game Rivals.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We're heading into season two. It's gonna be a big one. 2020 is gonna be a big year
I know.
in gaming. So I'm really looking forward to that. My wallet is probably not, um, but I hope this past year, if you have been following us for the past year, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. If you just recently joined, hi, welcome. Stay a while. We're going to be doing this for at least another year and hopefully even longer than that. And welcome. Um, and yeah, this is one heck of a ride. I can't wait to see what in store for us in 2020. Um, Next episode is gonna be a bit different from what we normally do. So I hope you guys look forward to that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, and do you have anything else you want to add, Sean Templar, before we sign off?
um, we just passed 1,000 listeners, which is
Woo!
pretty awesome. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for letting us know what you think, and what you
Yeah.
like and what you maybe don't like. When we first started out, I think it was something completely different. And when I look back at where we are now, I think we made a nice organic change, to put it that way, a natural change. Because in the
Hmm.
beginning, when we started out, it was really a rivalry, and we kind of let that go. And now we're just more like two guys just talking about our passion, instead of a Nintendo fanboy and a Sony fanboy that are really passionate about their own areas.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that we're going in a different direction. Um, and yeah, stay tuned for season 2, because there's a lot more gonna happen. You'll just find out by watching and listening, because we're also gonna do more with YouTube. You'll be able to find the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order video, part 1 of my playthrough. Um,
Yeah.
I'll give you a heads up. I don't say a lot in it, because when I game, I don't say a lot in general. And since this is my first hour with the game, yeah, I'm just taking the game in. But if you
The
want to,
game is pretty though.
the game is beautiful. So if you want to find out how that is, go have a look.
Yeah, and subscribe to that as well.
Yeah,
So, as always, you can find us on the Twitterverse at game underscore rivals underscore. You can find me on Twitter at Maximilian. You can follow us on all of the known podcasting networks. You can find us on Anchor, which is our home. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Google Play, Overcast, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube at Game Rivals. The link will be in the description because there are a bunch of other Game Rivals apparently on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram, which is Game Rivals. Um, we haven't posted a lot, but expect a lot more in the coming weeks. As we ramp up to season 2 of Game Rivals. You can always send us feedback at gamerivalsfeedback at gmail.com. As you've heard on the top of the episode, we are still trying to get as much feedback from you guys. We've gotten a lot more feedback from you guys. Thank you. Keep them coming. We like constructive feedback. We would like to hear more what you guys would want to hear from us, what you want us to do. So just please continue to give us feedback that allows us to grow and give you the content that you want as well. And also, don't forget, you can leave us a voice message on Anchor. You don't need to have an Anchor account. The link is in the description of the episode. You can just click on that, leave us a voice message, and heck, if it's a voice message that can be featured on an episode, we will feature you on an episode as one of our game rivals. So, yeah, the last episode of the year. Sean Templar, anything else to add?
I'm all good. Maybe we should just wrap it up before you get emotional.
Very funny, very funny. All right. So, as for the last episode of the year, this has been Maximilian X
And Sean Templar.
signing off, wishing you a happy new year, happy holidays, and see you in 2020.
See ya.